The asbestos issue is not a thing of the past. It continues to this day.
We want to end this man-made disaster.
So let's ban asbestos.
3 known exposures. My first exposure was through my father, when he used to bring home off-cut building materials, and he made a cubby house for us when I was about 7 years of age. And I can remember playing in the cubby house and using pieces of asbestos sheeting to do like as chalk in the pavement and drawing with it, doing painting with this offcuts onto the cubby house, doing flowers and trees and windows on the cubby. My second exposure was my first job with the government agency in the health department, and there was so much asbestos around the ceilings. There's so much asbestos in the ceilings, the suspended ceilings, and around the pipes and the electrical cables. And of course, every time a piece of the suspended ceiling was opened up for the computer technicians to fix, invisible fibres would come down from that ceiling. And my other exposure was around the same time when my father worked in the building trade, and Dad used to come home with his work clothes, with his overalls, and to be washed, and I would help shake them out and wash them because Mum was working late. And I also used the vacuum cleaner to clean Dad's work car, the inside of that, and I used to empty the vacuum cleaner bag, and all this dust would just blow everywhere, and of course it was full of asbestos dust. My first symptom, I suppose, was probably in the 90s, and I first got unexplained headaches, and then I got unexplained chronic fatigue, and I had all the tests under the sun with all these specialists, and they couldn't come up with anything. And that was they were my first symptoms. And then my eventual symptom with diagnosis was where the groin area is. There was a hard lump that started to form there, and I found it very hard to actually put on jeans, on trousers, because this lump would sort of stick out a little bit. And I went to see a doctor, and the doctor did some tests, ultrasounds, and just said, there's nothing wrong, it's just a bit of soft tissue lump, probably from a lot of exercise of walking up and down these big hills in where we lived at the time. And then when I was eventually diagnosed, I had a pain coming from my back to this area, and this doctor sent me to a specialist, and they were looking for ovarian cancer because of where the area in the groin area was. So then I was hospitalised for this, and I had debulking surgery done, where they take out in the linings the massive tumours that were there. And the specialist came back and said to me, it's not ovarian cancer, we don't know what it is. Because I'm a long-term survivor, it's a bit at times when I really need treatment, and they're very sympathetic and have empathy, but then other times it's a bit blasé because I don't die, somehow I bounce back. I guess it's to do with my father. When Dad died of this pleural mesothelioma in 1985, and basically I became aware of what mesothelioma was through Dad, and I suppose I was an advocate with awareness ever since then. Like I used to tell everyone else about, particularly anyone working in that same trade as Dad, as a builder, what the dangers were, and it can only take one asbestos fibre to be diagnosed with mesothelioma. And I had seen what Dad had gone through, and it wasn't, it was very, shall we say, it was tragic to watch Dad in those 6 months, because no treatment worked then. And he went from a very healthy 54-year-old, and within 6 months he was just a shriveled up little old man in so much pain and couldn't breathe. And so it stayed with me. And when I was diagnosed, the specialist said to me, when I went back to get the results for the ovarian cancer, and that wasn't ovarian cancer, and he said to me, he said, "I'm very sorry," he said, "you've got the worst cancer possible. You've got meso." And I said, "Not mesothelioma." And he said, yes, I can't even pronounce the word. He said, "Oh, you know what it is?" I said, "Yes, asbestos cancer. My father died of this cancer." So I guess the answer to your question was that, yes, from 1985 I started to get a voice with this, and then when I was diagnosed I did lots of research. I rang the agencies with cancer, and they didn't really at the time know of mesothelioma, and because they were dealing with lung cancer and stomach cancer. And then I guess I researched the internet, and I spoke to a support group in Western Australia who they'd been dealing, because of Wittenoon, they'd been dealing with different ones with mesothelioma. And I just asked, what am I up against? What's going to happen when I do die, etc. I needed to know all of this. And then I did a lot of research with finding survivors of this cancer. And then my oncologist, I was referred to this oncologist, and I asked him, "Do you have any long-term survivors?" And he said, "Yes, I have 2 5 years and 1 8 years." So I went with him. That was good enough. And I guess just being a voice ever since, you know, I've gone from strength to strength with watching so many that have died of this cancer. And a lot of them went on to become good friends, and got to know their families, and I just had to be their voice, and had to, I just had to become their advocate, and because they didn't have a voice anymore, and also for those that are too ill to have a voice, there needs to be someone there, and I just am that voice for them. With ADAO and their role, and with me, with support, it's been wonderful to be able to liaise, particularly via the internet, with Linda Reinstein in particular, and the organisation on a global scale, because I think it's we are in unity with banning of asbestos, with research, with advocacy and education. I did work with two organisations, and then they formed into one organisation, and I was vice president and on the board. And then I was asked to go across to Bernie Banton Foundation, because Bernie Banton Foundation works on a national scale, and whereas I was just working at the time in our state of Victoria. And I also do a lot on my own as well, and with others like Fernanda and Yvonne in Netherlands, and others around the world. The 10th anniversary, I think it's very important to be able to have the continued unity of everyone coming together for advocacy and research and education, because being at this conference, it's a very powerful tool for everyone to come together. My message of hope to newly diagnosed is that there is hope out there. There's and to never give up. Never give up. It's the quality of life. It's not so much the quantity. In Australia, myself as with others, we help to link those that are newly diagnosed with the support that they need, and to continue their fight with mesothelioma.
The asbestos issue is not a thing of the past. It continues to this day.
We want to end this man-made disaster.
So let's ban asbestos.